Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. The Fianna Fáil leader says government formation would face a significant crisis if Green Party members fail to back a programme for government. A Waterford TD is calling for assurances that banks in Lismore and Kilmacthomas will not be closed permanently. Gardaí say they informed the organisers of a vigil in Waterford on Saturday next that there is to be no large gatherings under COVID-19 restrictions. And in sport, Waterford FC manager Alan Reynolds is being strongly linked with a move to Dundalk. The next few days will be crucial for the formation of the next government. That's according to the Fianna Fáil leader Micheál Martin as the negotiations reach an endgame. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe.
A programme for government isn't going to be finished this week, and there's now something of a race on to get it done in the next 7 days. A hard deadline of the end of June has emerged as crucial criminal justice legislation needs to be renewed by the end of the month by the Dáil and Seanad. But if the process can't be done by then, or if one of the parties fails to pass a programme for government, Fianna Fáil leader Micheál Martin says things could get tricky.
I don't want to speculate or contemplate what happens after that, but I think parties will clearly have to assess the outcome of that sort of scenario, But we have to work on the basis that each party will work to secure approval of their members once an agreement is reached. We can't really think beyond that at this stage. It would represent a significant crisis.
Today, the Regional Independence Group is being brought in to be offered their own deals in exchange for supporting the new government. It's understood they'll be given constituency promises and preferential access to ministers in exchange for the support of that new government. It's approaching 120 days since the general election, and the clock is now very much ticking on the whole process. Sean Defoe, Leinster House.
Waterford Minister of State John Halligan says he believes there needs to be another election. John Halligan says there's no trust between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the Green agenda needs to be pushed aside for a while until the economy recovers.
There's an unfairness about this where the electorate essentially didn't want Fine Gael and they didn't want Fianna Fáil. A big percentage of the electorate voted for Sinn Féin and nobody will speak to them. Yet they want to speak to every other party in the Dáil. So you'll have a government formed that the people really didn't want, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. The Greens have an agenda that's going to be a huge cost to the economy at difficult times when we should be trying to protect jobs, preserve jobs, create jobs. And yet the Greens are insisting on billions being spent on the environment in a very short period of time.
A Waterford TD says the temporary bank branch closures during the COVID pandemic must not lead to the downgrading of services. 101 Bank of Ireland branches, including Lismore, Kilmacthomas and Ardkeen in Waterford, were closed on the 24th of March. Fianna Fáil's Mary Butler has written to the Chief Executive calling for assurances. She says she contacted Bank of Ireland in Waterford twice over the past fortnight.
On the 19th of May and the 28th of May, just looking for clarity as to when these banks may reopen, because locals are concerned that they may not reopen, and I was just looking for clarity. However, the clarity wasn't forthcoming, so I then decided to write to the Chief Executive of the Bank of Ireland calling for an assurance that branches closed during COVID would reopen again.
Deputy Butler fears the loss of lodgement facilities is leading to more people keeping cash at home.
Now, for people living in Lismore, they're 25 kilometres from Dungarvan, they're 27 kilometres to Fermoy, which would be their two nearest banks, and this has caused a lot of upset. Admittedly, Bank of Ireland have put in lots of different initiatives to support people, and they were able to nominate a person to bank on their behalf. But a lot of people would prefer to do their own banking. They're private like that. And where my fear would come, especially in the rural areas, that people may start holding on to maybe cash and cheques in their home as against getting them to the bank.
The COVID pandemic payment for part-time workers is going to be reduced by the government. Cabinet ministers will tomorrow extend the emergency payments for a number of months. Those who are working full-time but lost their jobs will remain on the €350 rate. But Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has confirmed there will be a reduction for part-time workers.
First of all, it will be extended for months, not weeks. Secondly, nobody who was working full-time before the pandemic will see their unemployment payment cut. It will stay at €350 a week for those who are working full-time prior to the pandemic hitting. Some people who were working part-time will see their payment reduced, but their weekly payment will still be more than they were earning on a weekly basis before the pandemic.
The European Commission's €750 billion COVID recovery proposals are likely to lead to a renovation wave within the construction sector. That's according to Waterford Green Party MEP Grace O'Sullivan. The Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled a raft of proposals for its recovery plan called Next Generation EU. The European Green Deal remains a central component of the recovery proposal. Part of that green strategy includes a massive renovation of buildings and infrastructure to make them more climate neutral.
This is where we're going to see the renovation wave. So where investment is going to go into supporting construction that's carbon efficient. So that it's not only good for the people who live in these homes because of their energy efficiency, but also it's brilliant for the environment because it means this carbon, which is these greenhouse gas emissions, aren't going to be pumped out into the air. That's just one sector, but construction is huge.
Gardaí in Waterford say they informed the organisers of a vigil in the city centre on Saturday next that there was to be no large gatherings under COVID-19 restrictions. They were also told that if there was any breaches, the organisers will be responsible and Gardaí will take the necessary action. Waterford Against Racism and several organisations are to host a vigil following the killing of George Floyd in the US. Seamus O'Brien's one of the organisers. He told Damien Tiernan on Daisha today that social distancing measures will be in place for the vigil, which will begin at 3 o'clock and last 1 hour.
It will be stewarded quite heavily. We probably are expecting between 200 and 300 people. We intend to line them on the central aisle of the quay, 2 metres apart, holding homemade placards. That will continue down as far down the quay as the traffic islands allow. We won't be standing on the road between the traffic islands or blocking traffic in any way. If there is such a number that fill those islands, then we will use one side of the bridge.
The phased easing of restrictions will continue to be policed by Gardaí in Waterford. The extension of the distance where you can leave your home is set to increase from 5 to 20 kilometres next week. Tramore-based Garda Superintendent Paul O'Driscoll says they will be checking to ensure compliance.
We will have to police it. We're a very big organisation. We're very flexible. We've met big challenges before. It will be a challenge, there's no doubt about that. While moving from 5 to 20k mightn't seem like a lot, of course it will give great scope to people to move around. But when that time comes, I'm sure we will have an organisational response to it and we will support it here at the ground level.
The parents of Madeleine McCann believe the identification of a German suspect is the most significant development in 13 years. The 43-year-old, who hasn't been named, is currently in jail in his home country. Madeleine vanished in Portugal shortly before her 4th birthday and would have turned 17 last month. Her family spokesperson, Clarence Mitchell, says Kate and Jerry McCann need closure.
They are realistic. They simply want to know what happened to their daughter. That's always been the case. They want whoever is responsible for her disappearance to be brought to justice. They do remain hopeful that she could still be found alive. They've never given up on that hope, nor will they.
People in Waterford are being asked to make a donation to the Waterford Hospice Movement this week. Their annual on-street collection, Hospice Sunflower Days, was due to take place tomorrow and Saturday. However, it's been cancelled because of COVID-19. You can make a donation on togetherforhospice.ie. The money raised locally will go towards the Hospice Home Care Team and the South East Palliative Care Centre. Dr Chantal McNamara set up the Waterford Hospice Movement and she praised the people of Waterford.
We're very grateful to them and they have been superb all over the years. They've never let down the hospice, and families have been made so happy to have their loved ones at home rather than going into a hospital and observing hospital visiting times.
WLR Sport, Ireland's local station of the year.
Starting with soccer, where Waterford FC manager Alan Reynolds has been strongly linked with a move to Dundalk. The Lily Whites are keen to replace their assistant manager Rory Higgins, who recently left the club to take up a role with the FAI underage structure. Vinnie Perth, the Dundalk manager, is a long-time admirer of Reynolds. It's believed he spoke with the Tramore native yesterday regarding his availability to replace Higgins. There's massive uncertainty surrounding the future of Waterford FC. Alan Reynolds was disappointed with the manner in which he and his players were informed that they were being laid off due to COVID-19. So it would not be surprising if he decided to move to the League of Ireland champions. Dundalk will return to action later this month in a 4-team pilot tournament, which also includes European-bound teams Bohemians, Derry City and Shamrock Rovers. Republic of Ireland international Shane Long has agreed a 2-year contract extension with Southampton. The 33-year-old is coming to an end of his current deal this summer, but is now set to remain with the Saints until the end of the 2021-22 season. A Waterford rally driver says it's great to be recognised in a minority sport. Craig Breen's one of 25 sporting stars in the running to be named Waterford's greatest sporting hero, which is sponsored by Flavins. The 30-year-old was the 2012 WRC Super 2000 World Rally Champion, scoring class wins in Monte Carlo, Wales Rally GB, Rally France and the Rally of Spain. He was also Motorsport Ireland International Driver of the Year. Craig spoke to Damien Tiernan on Daisha today.
Nice to be recognised. Obviously, I'm in a minority sport. Not a lot of people know what I'm doing other than just doing a bit of hooligan in cars around the world. But no, it's nice to get a bit of recognition.
Voting is open on WLORFM.com and the overall winner will be announced on Daisha today on June 26th. And at the Olympics, the Tokyo governors say it may be necessary to stage a simplified Olympics next year. It's been reported that some of the options are mandatory coronavirus testing for athletes and spectators. There would also be fewer spectators and a limit on movement in and out of the athletes' village. WLOR asking you to stay at home. Our next bulletin is at 2.